today's video, we're going to show you one of the biggest plastering skills you can learn, and that is how to create this understairs area into a fully plastered curved bit of art. Now there's a lot involved in this video, and for any plasterers out there, it's probably something you do need to know because you are going to come across this situation. There's a lot of skills that you will need throughout the rest of your plastering career. So let's first look at the area and what we need. This is EML, so you want the panelled sheets of EML. And the reason is this is what we're going to use to create the shape and give us the area to make sure we've got something to bond to. Now this is a real fucker to work with. It's sharp, it's hard to measure up. So what I really want to do is get a sheet at a time and roughly cut it in place. So what I do is crinkle it towards the edges and work it in sheets at a time. So again, they're quite big sheets, and like I say, they rip your hands to shreds. So here's a thing, you just want to use a decent pair of tin snips. Like I said, I created a rough line, I offered it up to the area, and then I cut from end to end roughly where it needs to be. Now I did that on both sides of the EML. It's so much better than measuring it, because knowing the size and how clumsy it is to use, just offer it up in situ and cut it from there. Now what we have is, this is the biggest piece we're working with. And what I had before, I worked alongside the chippy, and he ran some battens from end to end, so it created some fixing points. That's so I can get a fixing decent enough so I can use some drywall screws, and then that way we can kind of follow the curvature of the staircase. Now the reason we are using EML and not plasterboard is because it curves and moves in so many different ways, and you have to follow the contours of the staircase. Now what I'm doing is just going to as many fixing points as I can, and then working on the outside first, and what you'll see is slowly working on the centres, then we can start forming the curve. Now what I've done is just done the same thing as before, used an offcut and just filling in the gaps. Now this is important because you're not going to get it in one piece, but using little bits is going to allow you to create a curve easier and easier, and giving you a much better base to work with. Now look, them battens that are running through, they're crucial because they're the fixing points for the centre. Now once we've got that in place, we've got something to work with, and at least now we've got something we can build upon. But for plastering wise, we're going to be using this. This is bonding. I'm sure you've all seen it, but it's designed for medium to low suction backgrounds. Now I've never shown you this. We're going to mix it with cement. Now what is the reason? What this is going to do is going to turbocharge the speeding time. Now I didn't come up with this, a good friend of mine, Charlie, did, and he came up with this whole concept. He taught me the more cement you mix in with bonding, the faster the mix is going to go off. So what I'm going to do is 2 big scoopfuls of cement into a small amount of bonding. Like I said, you've got to practice. This is about trial and error, so start small, but you will get used to it with time. But basically, the more cement you add to the mix, the faster it's going to go off. Now, let me tell you this with an air of caution. It does work, and it will make it go off rapid if you're not careful. So I've got 2 scoops to about, let's say, 10 big scoops of bonding. So let's say 1 to 5, 5 to 1 ratio, 5 bonding, 1 cement. That's a rough guess, by the way, because I always just do it by eye and colour. Now what we're going to do is we're going to start to roughly apply that bonding to the EML. Now this is going to be messy. It doesn't like to hold on, it doesn't like to grip, and especially where there's a join between 2 bits of EML to another, this will be a point where it will sag out. So basically, the more fixing points you can get the EML, the easier this point's going to be, because you don't want it to move too much. It's the movement of the EML that's going to push the bonding off. Now this is the first coat. What we're looking for here is just to give it a base. We're not going to start getting any flawless finishes yet. And the other reason is so you can get used to start using your trowel and curving around the area. Because look, the trickiest part about this is going to be lots of different curves working against each other, and what you'll find out later on in this video, you've got to find out a way of tackling it. But the first protocol is just filling in the gaps. Now I've scrim taped between the plasterboard, I've used EML as a joiner between that, so they shouldn't create any cracks. We're going to do about 2 to 3 mixes of this, and the reason we want to use cement is because we want that initial base to go off rapid. Look, I've just dropped a load on my hand. I did tell you it's messy, and I won't lie when I said that. It will fall and it will splatter on you a little bit. So you don't want the mix of bonding to be too wet. You want it to be able to hold its own weight and really crush into the grooves of that EML itself. Because if you don't have that, then it'll just sag out and blow up all over the floor. We don't want that. The edges are especially hard because this is quite a tight gap, so you can't even get your trowel in most times. So that was the first coat. I'm going to do the same thing again. That first coat will give you a chance to test out mixing cement with bonding, see how much it went off, see how fast you won't need a bit more cement next time. So that first coat had gone off in about 15 minutes. Now I've got a much better base to work with. Now I've got that first coat, the second coat you find is going to work a lot easier. It's going to start gripping a lot more, and as you can see now, we're really closing in the gaps and we're starting to lose that texture of the EML. Now this is when we're going to start creating the curves. This is where we're going to start to give it its initial shape. Now what I will say is you want to really work hard at this first stage, and you want to make it as easier for the later stages, because when you'll see with the plastering you need to have it bang on. So what we want is to have this first coat. In my opinion, you want this first base layer of bonding, whether it's 2 layers altogether or 3, but you want the end result to be without any lines. You want it to be able to use your trowel so you can curve in and around it. So you really want to take your time, so don't add too much cement to the mix, because you'll kind of lose that element of you'll lose that ability to be able to craft your curves, because what this is, every single staircase is different, and every time you do these, they're all going to be different themselves. So what you need is a loose wrist to be able to work in and around the curves, and basically you want to be able to manipulate the bonding to create and follow the shape that you created with the EML. Sometimes you'll have to build it out thicker in areas, sometimes you'll have to make it lower, and like I said, this is all subjective, and this all depends on how you've built that initial coat to begin with. So what we're doing now is just filling in all the gaps, making sure it's all filled in now. And what I will say is just do little mixes at a time, little batches of bonding. Don't create big huge batches and expect it to get it all done in one go. It's not going to work. You need to do this in stages. You need that first part, that first layer of bonding to have gone hard before you apply the second coat. You need the second coat to go hard before you apply the third coat. You've got to do it in stages, which is why we used an accelerant like cement in this instance to speed up the process, otherwise it'd literally take all day. Another tip, don't be scared to use all parts of the trowel. I'm using the head there, and what I'm finding, you find I'm digging lines in and out, and that's because I'm trying to find the perfect way to create a shape that doesn't dig in. You don't want to be digging loads of lines in, and when you come to the top coat you find it impossible to create that curve. Now look, this is rock solid after about 10 minutes. I didn't have much time in that batch, but that's because by the time it came to the third batch I didn't need a lot of time. So look at this now. I'd say at this point it's probably been about 20 minutes. It's absolutely rock solid and ready to move on to the next stage. There's a bit showing there. I did actually add a tiny bit more in stages, but generally you want to wait until that's solid, and then we can start moving on to the next stage. For me, I'm still a PVA man. I know everyone hates it now. You know, SBR used to be the villain, now PVA is, but look, I'm still a PVA man, and that's just the way it is, but that's another topic for another day, innit? And now I've primed the area. What I will say, one coat of strong PVA or SBR, doesn't really matter what you use. I'm not against SBR, by the way, I just prefer PVA. But here we go. Now we've done the legwork with that base coat, you should be able to apply the first coat with ease, really, because we've done the first stages. That first coat was applied. The second process of applying the top coat should be fairly easy. Like I say, you created the shape at the beginning, you took your time with the bonding, and you created that foundation, which is going to make this stage easy to work with. That's why it's so important to take your time during the creating of the EML, the creating of the shape, making sure that base coat is tight and you've not got loads of lines running through it. If you had loads of lines running through your base coat, then you know that the top coat's going to be a nightmare. Now, I'm still got to fight it, do you know what I mean? We're still working with multi-finish, which is very thin, so you're going to have some lines running through, but we haven't got loads to the point where it's going to be out of control and we're not going to be able to get it. I've got most of the lines out at this stage, as you can see. Remember, we've got loads of time after this point. This is only just applying the second coat of render. And later stages I'll give you some advice on what tools you can use to make it a lot easier. but basically we're just making sure we're trying to keep it as tight as possible. We haven't got a load of lines running through, and again we're crafting that shape to make sure it's going to be nice, curved and clean without loads of dips and holes, because it might need filling after this, by the way, but generally we want to make sure our job's as tidy as possible. So I'm using the tip and the head of my trowel there to work on towards the edges, and just making sure I use every part of the trowel to get the most amount work for it. I work into the top and got the curve running all the way down there. It's hard to see the exact shape in this light, to be fair, but I'm using every part of the trowel to make sure that we're following the shape of the wall. And a good trowel technique is to make sure you've got loose wrists when you're doing this. You don't really want to hold onto the trowel really tightly, because what you'll find, you'll struggle to follow the curves, you'll struggle to follow the contours. So you want a loose grip, and what that's going to enable your trowel to do is just smoothly follow any curves that are in place. This is quite a tough trowel plastering skill to learn, doing curves, because you've got to let the trowel follow, and you've really got to loosen up. And what that'll do is the trowel just follow and take the lines following behind it by gliding through, rather than if you've got a real firm grip, you're going to lose that ability to follow the lines and contours of it. So what we've got is lots of water now at this point. If there is any gaps, if there is any holes, you really want to be filling it at this point, because you might have some dips, you might have a few little high spots, but that's where the water brush and the water is really going to come in to make sure we get rid of them. So don't be scared to use your water brush during this stage. And at this point you can see I'm filling in little holes as we go in, and as the plaster gets harder and harder, that's when we want to be increasing the pressure. That's when we want to be really pushing the plaster into itself, because you don't want to be just having it loose. What will happen is it might create ripples. The problem is with curves, if you create too much plaster into a curved area, you can get ripples, and then you can get what looks like a rippled effect on the top coat when it's finished. So now we're really pushing the pressure onto the trowel. My grip's hardened up now because the plaster's gone harder, so we can really push the plaster into itself at this point. So the earlier stages you want loose grip, now we want to tighten up and we want to force that plaster into itself. That's when we're going to be able to not only get a curved nice finish, but we're going to get a finish that looks consistent without any ripples, without any lumps or bumps. You want to make sure that you're pushing it and really forcing it into that base coat of bonding. That's when you'll end up with a nice looking curve like this. Now that is it. That's how you do a curved staircase. That's how you create that effect from the beginning. But if you want to watch a video on how to use bonding plaster as a complete beginner, where I'll give you an introduction on how to do base work for plastering, then click that video on the left. And if you like this video, please click and subscribe to the right. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye bye.